Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm not sure if it's a show or what it is, but it's a Q&A. Glad to be here with you. I am, let's see, make sure we're live, make sure everything's going up. Okay, I promised you a Vampiro story, so I'm going to tell you a Vampiro story. So when I was first starting wrestling back in Texas, we used to work the border towns, worked all Laredo, worked on the other side of Nuevo Laredo, worked all of the border towns, mainly on the Texas side, not necessarily on the Mexican side, and ran into some guys down there who wanted to book me to work for CMLL. Now, at the time, there were two main groups in Mexico. There was AAA and the other group mainly in Mexico City. But on Sunday afternoon to Sunday early evening, they ran the Plaza del Toros in Monterrey, Mexico. And a lot of these groups would come together. Well, Vampiro was the biggest name in Mexico. And when I say he's the biggest name, I don't think people that did see him understand how big he was. He had a rock band. He had his own cologne. It was insane. He sold out everywhere he went. I've seen guys over. I was with the Von Erichs, the Freebirds in Dallas, Stone Cold and The Rock, Hogan, John Cena, you name it. I've seen it in the last 30 years in this business. He was as over as anybody I've ever seen. So Elizondo was the guy there that ran in Monterey, had some type of steak restaurant there in Monterey, ran CMLL, which was the Northern Wrestling. You'd work CMLL, you'd work Monterey, the Plaza del Toros, then you'd work the border towns that are up on the Mexican side of the Texas-Mexican border. So I didn't realize they'd had a problem with Vampiro. Vampiro, great guy. Loved the guy. Never had an issue with him, except for one, which I'm about to tell. And they had a bunch of stooges around Elizondo. As anybody who was in charge back then had all these stooges. Rumor was that Vampiro had punched one of the stooges. I don't know what happened. I never did ask him. Don't blame him if he did. Anytime you get a stooge gets punched, that's a good thing. So they were bringing me down to replace Vampiro. I didn't know that. He's irreplaceable. This is like replacing Hogan in his heyday. I'm not making that up, how popular he was at the time. I think I'm going down as the heel vampire. We had the Dark Patriot in Texas at the time. You had Del Wilkes as the Patriot. You had the Dark Patriot. I understood the angle. I think I'm going down as the Dark Vampire, same thing as the Dark Patriot. I'm the heel. So working all over the territory. I'm Vampiro. They put the title on me. Now all of a sudden I'm coming up to face Vampiro at the Plaza del Toros, the big blow off, at least part of it. And I'm sitting there in the room with him. Now this is the first time that I've met Vampiro in person. I've been going around all over northern Mexico as Vampiro Americano. He's Vampiro Canadiense. And working up to this angle for the title, for the name, for everything. And I'm sitting there in this little bitty small room, and he's just sitting there staring at me. And I can't figure out why that he's not very receptive. And I can't figure out what the heat is. So finally I say, brother, we got heat. Now I don't know him. Seems fine, but you could tell there's tension. As soon as he walked in the room, it's just me and him. And he's sitting there looking at me. He says, "You're wearing my shit." And I said, "Well, yeah, that's the angle. I'm the heel vampire. You're the good guy, and I'm eventually going to lose the name to you and the title to you and all that stuff. It's the story." And he stood there studying me. I said, "I don't understand what's wrong." And he looks at me again. He says, "You're wearing my shit." And now I have no idea what he's talking about. And I said, "Brother, I'm sorry. You've lost me here." And he looks at me, and all of a sudden he just relaxes. And he says, "You're not in on it, are you?" I mean, we're on the edge of a fight, and all of a sudden he just relaxed. And I have no idea what calmed him down. I have no idea what made him mad. Nothing. And I said, "Brother, please smarten me up to this." And he said, "That's my stuff." I said, "I know it's your stuff. I'm wearing. I'm your gimmick. It's the storyline." And he said, No. He had ordered this stuff in Monterey, and I don't know if he paid for it or not. I heard he did. I don't know if he did or not. It's been 20-something or 30 years. And the office went by and picked up his stuff and gave it to me. So I'm sitting there across from him wearing his gear that he ordered and I think that he paid for. And he's thinking the audacity of this guy to sit in front of me wearing the gear that he stole from me. That's what he's thinking. And I just started laughing. I said, brother, you got to be kidding me. The office didn't smarten me up. Unbelievable. We'd have been in a fight if that had gone differently in that room by ourselves before the match. Unreal. And later, about 20 years later, I'm in an elevator and I'm going up and I see this guy get on his bald-headed or head shaved or close. Good-looking guy. Don't really pay attention. He goes, "You're not going to say anything to me?" And I said, "Sorry." And he said, "You're wearing my shit." And I just started laughing at his Vampiro. The first time I'd seen him since I'd been in Mexico, I hugged him. Great guy. We had a terrific run, at least making money. Most money I'd made at the time. I'd been nowhere, really. Made money with him down in Mexico, dropped the name, dropped the title, and then I left and never went back. Went to Japan, went to Europe, and went to WWE, and he continued his name. They had a run in WCW, but terrific guy. I talked to the biographer that put together like a documentary of him, and I talked to him by text. And he said, "Hey, we found this story after we'd already put the documentary together, or we had to put it in." And so that's Vampiro. Good guy. I've always had a terrific relationship. Anytime I've talked to him, texted him, things like that. Got a bunch of questions coming up. Let me see. Let me answer a couple that I got earlier. Linda fan asked me about Brad Rheingans. So Brad Rheingans, and in the early 90s, was the greatest trainer in the world, pretty much recognized as such. I'd been playing in the World Football League. The World League of American Football just had the 30th birthday of the first game. I started every game that first year. Second year, I come back. I get cut. I called Brad, cold called him, and said, "Brad, I want to come up to Minnesota and train." He said, "Well, come on up." He arranged for me a place to stay. Trained with Brad Rheingans. Brad was the 1980 Greco-Roman world champion. Would have been gold medalist, but that was the year they boycotted because of the Olympics being in Russia and killed a bunch of young people's dreams. Terrible to use politics to kill something like the Olympics. But Brad had me there. Reggie Bennett was there. Frank Anderson, the wrestler from Sweden, had come in. Some guy that was there, I never heard of his name again. Anyway, people asked me how hard it was, at least Linda fan did. It was tough. It wasn't as tough as what I heard Tojo Yamamoto put guys through in the South, with Hogan getting his leg broke. But at the end of wrestling, this is where Brad had his fun. So at the end of the day, we would shoot for conditioning, get on the mat and shoot. Brad always went with me. He had this young pro football player, and Brad stretched me for about 4 straight months. You can tell he just loved every bit of it. I fought like crazy. I was big and strong and young at the time. I never did anything with Brad. He always turned me inside out. Had a lot of fun. Interesting thing here. Brad never smartened me up. I think if you talk to some of the guys in wrestling in Texas back then, they say it took a while for them to smarten me up either, but never smartened me up. It just wasn't part of the system back then. I never learned Carney until I'd been in the ring. I was in a match one time in Texas, and finally somebody yelled, "T-Zag!" And I finally realized what Carney was. I had heard people speak it. I knew it was some type of Pig Latin. Finally realized he just put the "is" somewhere in the word. Barry Windham, probably the best ever at Carney, would talk Carney, Kiz Arney, Calf Arney, Kiz Alphas Arney, Calf Fizz Arney. Insane. Talks so fast that you could hardly understand anything, and I spoke it fluently. A couple more questions. Somebody named Dims said that they're nervous about meeting me at an autograph session. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. Come out and say hi. I'm going to be in England next year. Love going to England for the love of wrestling. I'm a member of St. Andrews, so I hope to go up to St. Andrews, play a little golf once COVID gets all taken care of. Ian James asked me, "What is your favorite movie?" I love movies. Highlander has always been my favorite movie. At least that's what I've said. Love the Godfather trilogy. Surprisingly, I never thought I would like superhero movies. Love the Marvel movies. The Thor is just entertaining. The new Spider-Man, the young kid who plays it, hilarious. A lot of fun. Let me see questions here. Michelle Falconer asked me, biggest challenge of being a heel. That's easy. Being a heel is being hated. Being a heel is finding something people don't like. So always give the example. Road Dogg, when he turned heel, Road Dogg would always say these catchphrases and people would repeat them and say them. You know, if you tell people, you suck, they'll boo. That is not real heat. If you explain to them why they suck and it strikes a chord with them, now all of a sudden they get really mad at you. Like, how dare they bring that up? That's when you get heat. And Road Dogg used to have all these catchphrases that he would say. And when he turned heel, he would go to say them, and the whole crowd would want to sing along or chant along with it. And he would just stop and say, this isn't chanting along with Road Dogg. I don't think I'll say those today. And people would boo. You know, if you have a heel section, you're not a heel. Kurt Hennig came out one time against Hillbilly Jim. One guy was out there yelling, Hillbilly, you suck. Kurt Hennig, you're the best. Kurt spit his gum out and hit the guy. The guy looked around and he goes, Kurt, you suck. He changed the one guy who was rooting for him to rooting against him. And he looked at Hillbilly and he goes, that was perfect. You know, there's a place for heels that are popular. No doubt about it. But in every documentary, in every, not documentary, that's not the right word, in every series, like you have on Netflix or Amazon or HBO, you know, you look at the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones, look at the Governor in The Walking Dead. There's always a super heel or two. And that's the guy who's got to be a pure heel. And it's tough to find those people because very few people actually want to be a heel. Hot Rod Roddy Piper loved being a heel. Randy Orton, The Miz. I think those guys enjoy being a heel because once you realize that it's part of the show, you take your ego out. It's just tough to walk through airports for some people and be called a name or to go on your social media, which we didn't have back in the day, and see people bashing you. Bubba Ray Dudley always enjoyed being a heel. I loved being heel because you could control things so much easier. Sarah Dunworth asked me how I got into finance. 97 was the Asian crisis. Not very big, but it was a crisis. I bought Applied Materials at Oracle during that time. First stocks ever bought. And they went up a bunch. I got lucky with the timing. And it just made me fall in love with the stock market. And I've been investing in the stock market since. I invested all through the crash of 2000, which if you've been investing in the stock market since 2009 or 2010, you haven't seen a bear market. And everybody's a genius in a bull market. I've seen a couple of bear markets, but I enjoy investing. Always have. I worked on Wall Street for about 3 years as an investment banker during the time in 2005 to 2008 when I was also doing commentary during that time and thinking I wanted to go into corporate life forever. I decided against that. Let me check, see, thank you guys for all joining us. Please subscribe to our YouTube. Me and Brisco are trying to put out some great content. Let's see here about as far as questions. Will you ever run for governor? Yeah, I'd love to run for governor. If I thought I could make a difference, would love to run for office. If I thought I could make a difference. And I really would do it because I want to do stuff with prison reform. I want to do stuff with low-income education, schools, education themselves, inner cities. But that's to be determined. Let's see. Great. I'm trying to figure out. Somebody asked me, Mick Mac, I've seen you on my Twitter. Do you see we had 80,000 people at football on Sunday? That was down in New Zealand, I believe. Yes, I did. I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. I think people need to start getting back to normal, especially once they've been vaccinated. Say happy birthday to my friend Nick Gert. Happy birthday, Nick Gert. What was it like to be a TV rival of John Cena? When I came along, John Cena was just coming up, and he was not the John Cena you know now. You knew he had talent. And let me tell you the difference between an 8-minute match and a 30-minute match is a world of difference. So 8 minutes, it's easy. It's formulaic. You go out there, you do a certain thing, you do the heat, you go home. With 30 minutes, you can't do that because you can't make the first part 10 minutes, the next part 15, the next part 5. So you have to take people on a roller coaster. It's hard. Some people never make that transition from 8 minutes to 15 to 30 minutes because they never understand the ability to work. The first time that John Cena did that may have been with Kurt Angle, but I was one of the first, if not Kurt, with John. He got everything right away. You know, maybe being a second-generation wrestler, I don't know, or second generation in the business. Maybe that was part of it. But anyway, you knew he had it right away. Now, I never dreamed he would be as big as he is, but, you know, that's never dreamed The Rock would either, and you knew he had it as well. Let's see. Do you agree with Jim Cornette, criticism of the current product? I don't criticize the current product, but I love Cornette, and I don't hear his criticism, so I can't answer that fairly because I'm not sure what he said. But Jim Cornette, to me, has always been a terrific guy, so that's all I can go by. What was it like working with Ron Simmons? You know, you're working with your best friend. Somebody asked me, what was it like with Teddy and Ron? Ron was good friends with Teddy. I became good friends with Ron, and that's how we all ended up riding together. Then he threw in Godfather, and he had 3 guys who, besides me, 4 total, that all ended up going into the Hall of Fame, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure anybody saw that car back in the mid-'90s would have thought these 4 Hall of Famers are driving down the road. One more question. Do you think about getting back into the ring to wrestle? Yeah, I do. I mean, I'd love to. I have an idea for getting back. You know, every wrestler has an idea. That doesn't mean I'm going to do it. And I don't know if my body will allow me to do it. Right now, I'm just playing golf and enjoying that. So, guys, I hope that answered the questions. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to look through to see if I missed anything. Pat McAfee and Adnan Virk on commentary. I think they've been great. I think Pat McAfee is tremendous. What a smart guy. And what a good guy. I don't think I've ever met Pat in person. I've talked to him on the phone, on video call. But he's built an entire business around his own personality and his own intelligence, and that's pretty cool. And by the way, Jake Paul, best heel in the business by far. That kid is – I don't know if he knows how to be hated or if he's just hated and goes with it. But either way, he's going to make a lot of money until he gets beat, which he picks the right opponents. It may be quite a while. So, guys, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got Ricky Morton coming on this week. And in our playlist, you've got all the matches that we talk about. So we talk about Tommy Rich. You got the last battle of Atlanta, the hair match with Lawler. We're having a lot of fun on our YouTube channel, me and Brisco. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a great day.